Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games, and I'm doing another Star Wars Destiny video. And today, I'm going to do what I said I would do. I'm going to re-rank from number 1 to number 17, the Legendaries in Spirit of Rebellion. Now that I have a little bit more time with the set, I have a better idea of where they stand. Number 1 is still 4-speed, but I will say this. 4-speed is not nearly as good as we thought it was. In fact, I would say fast hands is better than 4-speed. But in a raid deck specifically, 4-speed becomes really good as you can chain out this ridiculous amount of actions where you can go like Vibro Knife. I get 2 actions. I roll the 4-speed. I hit that. Now I get 3 actions. And it can really add up and become overwhelming. I think in those spots, 4-speed becomes really great. Otherwise, I think it's just good. I would prefer it was 1 cost, because when it is great, it's amazingly great. But yeah, we overreacted for sure, but still, it's really good. Alright, number 2 for me is the Z6 Riot Control Baton. Yeah, can't talk apparently. This is a really good weapon. Being only 3 cost for redeploy and great sides makes it really strong. And the fact that you get to re-roll this die when it comes into the pool kind of negates the fact that it has 2 blanks on it. It's just a really versatile weapon because it doesn't have any plus sides. I chuck it in all kinds of decks. People are always like, Tiny, I don't understand. Why do you have a range deck with Riot Control Baton? And my answer is, because it's freaking amazing. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess that's a reasonable answer. So, Riot Baton, great card. Rocket Launcher, also fantastic. Just what it gives you is so much. For only 3, you have a side that does 4 damage. You have a side that does damage to multiple characters. You have a side that gets rid of a vehicle. This is just a really good card. Yes, it's expensive. That is for sure. So does it go in every single deck? I don't know. Maybe not. But for me, pretty much if it's running red, it's running Rocket Launcher. And you put it in a Poe deck, and it gets even crazier. I actually had a chat with a friend the other day. He said he thought it was the worst legendary in Spirit of Rebellion. I think that's crazy. I think this card is amazing. I think it goes in a lot of decks. Number 4 for me, still Palpatine. I don't know what to do with Palpatine. I still don't know what the answer is with Palpatine. We're pretty deep now. I still don't have a complete grasp. I kind of view Palpatine as like the tier 2 gatekeeper. Like if your deck screws around, you lose to Palpatine. Like you have to have a plan for him, preferably removal. The reason why I think he's probably going to end up being tier 2 with a build that bumps him to tier 1.5 for a while is just simply the fact that removal hurts so bad against him. If your opponent just has Loth Cat Mouse, Electroshocks, or he doesn't like using their deck, they just pull off one of the dice and there goes 2 damage, and it becomes very difficult to keep the train moving. You get a Rise Again off though on him, you get an early Holocron, things can really get nasty with good old Palpatine. He's definitely good. Alright, U-Wing is pretty high here at number 5, and this may be clouded by the fact that I've been playing a lot of Poe, and it's just really, really great in that deck. It's this versatile card that you can do 3 damage to one person, or you can do 2 to multiples, or you could even give shields to all your characters. Whatever. You have a lot of options. It's going to fit really well in any sort of vehicle deck, which, by the way, Light Side looks poised to have with second chance ammo belt stuff. It fits really well in Poe. It's just a really, really good, though expensive, legendary. Blackmail is probably the one that moved up the most on my list. It's all the way up to number 6 now. The reason is simply because of the interaction with fast hands. If you don't know this ruling, if you have fast hands and Blackmail on, say, Jabba the Hutt, and you roll him, because there are 2 triggers happening at the same time that are both yours, you get to choose which one goes first. So you can have the fast hands go off first, resolve your Blackmail, while your opponent's like this. Wait, I want to give you I want to play the resource? What? No, I can't? Oh no. It makes the 3 discard side or the the disrupt becomes insane. If you go first and you're just like, I roll 3 disrupt, I'll take 3 resources. Your opponent is having a real hard time. Or if you take 3 cards from their hand. Essentially, Fast Hands lets Blackmail do what Blackmail is supposed to do. When I first saw this card, I thought, okay, if my opponent's running a mill deck, sure, I'll pay a resource so they can't do their main thing they want to do, you know, milling. But not being able to do that makes Blackmail a lot better. All right, number 7, Obi-Wan. That's right, he's moved way up the list. I've gone from thinking he was unplayable garbage to, is he better than Luke? Question mark? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. We've been talking a lot on the Patreon Tiny Grimes page about, is he better than Luke? And my theory goes something like this. He's got a 3-side, and he has focus. So any deck where you're able to get some focus, you can turn one of his sides to the 3. You get my ally is the Force, or whatever the name of that card is, ally, that lets you resolve a side twice. Basically, having one 3-side seems like it's probably enough. I think he's really strong. In fact, he's so strong that most people haven't been killing Obi-Wan first. So if I play Rey Obi-Wan, they kill Rey first. Could you imagine a world in which you play Luke X and they kill X first? That's basically what Obi-Wan is. No one wants to kill him because it gets crazy then. You're like, oh, you killed Obi-Wan? Okay, here's his ghost, or here's a lightsaber, or here's a handcrafted lightbow. Like, it gets pretty crazy if you kill him. So, I was wrong, I think. I might have to say I'm wrong again. I don't know. I've come around to thinking he's pretty good. The problem is, I still think at 20, both Luke and Obi-Wan are overcosted and are hard to play when you can do things like 2-die Maz, 2-die Poe, which is kind of doing the same thing. So I really hope there is a cool build that can exploit him, but I'm a little worried that he is still just simply overcosted. Maz's Goggles is probably the least exciting good card in the set. It's a very good card, but it's kind of like, I mean, doesn't really do anything. I'm running a mill deck, it has no mill sides on it. I'm running a damage deck, it has no damage sides on it. It kind of has a mill side, that's wrong. If they happen to have an event still in their hand when you roll the special. So I look at this card as it's a great helper card, so in the right spot, it's really good. I end up putting 2 of them in a lot of my decks, but for instance, my Poe Maz deck, I don't have this in there. It's a good card, I just can't find room. And it's stuff like that that made me start saying, maybe this isn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. Maybe it's not going to be completely ubiquitous. Maybe there'll be more of a role player card. And if it is that, then it belongs a little farther down on the list. I believe that's number 8. All right. That would make this number 9. The Handcrafted Lightbow. I had this in the top 3 first time around, and I still think it's really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just having a hard time playing it. Blue doesn't make money, Blue Heroes. So then you have to have a deck where you have like binds all things going on, or some way, maybe you're running Destiny, and I've tried these things and those feel clunky. I just, like, when you get this on the table, it feels great. But you want, like, if you're playing Rey, you want to play Holdout Blasters, and you want to play Vibro Knives, and you want to cheat your actions. And then you look at Handcrafted Lightbow, and you're like, you're really good, but you don't give me free actions, you don't do all these other things for me. Yes, you're a great damage dealer, but maybe I just want lightsaber so that when the guy dies, I actually get something moving over instead of this just going away, and it costs me everything. So, like, in a vacuum, I love this card, and that's what happens when you first evaluate cards. But as we get deeper and deeper into my own data and my own playtesting, I still love the card in a vacuum. And in a Poe deck, it would be great. But I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, I mean, how often did I get it down? I've cut it from a lot of decks. I really like the card. I just think it's not as good as I originally had thought it was. Force Lightning. The coolest card in the set. Probably one of the most overrated cards in the set, unfortunately. It costs 4. That's the bottom line. If it didn't cost 4, it would be awesome because it's crazy good. So the problem is, where do you get to play this? Like, of course you play it like in a Palpatine holocron deck, and then maybe you get lucky and you get it with that, or maybe you get lucky and you get it with Rise Again, or maybe you get lucky and you get it with Premonitions. But if you noticed, everything I just said was maybe you get lucky X, Y, and Z. Any card you can't just play has reduced value for me, and it's so hard to get this off. And then on the other side, it's like, would I rather have this or a Mind Probe? I don't know. I might just want a Mind Probe instead. Like, Mind Probe does a lot of damage. It's really scary. I don't know. I don't know what the exact answer to this question is. Which one's... I think that's a real debate. Which one's better, Force Lightning or Mind Probe? But I think Force Lightning is good. I think it's very good if I didn't look at the number 4. Looking at the cost, I think, good card, but not amazing. Quad Jumper is like the breaking point here, where we start to get to the cards that are still solid, but are more niche cards. I feel like Force Lightning is that way as well. But Quad Jumper is great in a dedicated vehicle deck. But any deck other than that looks at Quad Jumper and it's like, I mean, 3 costs to do what? Or like, I have 2 vehicles in my deck. I could reduce them both. No, you're not going to play Quad Jumper in that deck. Slave 1 is that card that, man, if this thing was a hero card and you could play this with Poe, woo boy, it would be really strong. People will play this for sure. The problem is, in villains, it just feels like there's a harder time making a villain deck. We've seen published already a really cool Unkar double TIE pilot deck that uses this, and it works really well in that deck. The problem is Poe Maz is really hard for that deck to deal with. It just goes like, thermal, all your guys are dead. And you're like, oh, well, that was unfortunate. So, while I love Slave 1 in a vacuum for sure, and if it was a hero card that I could use with Poe, it'd probably be top 3. Maybe not quite that high, because it doesn't hit lots of characters, but that special is really crazy. They get a bunch of dice in the pool, and if you had Poe, you could just be like, boom, out of nowhere, out of hand, 7 damage for your dice. It just feels amazing, but I think it's just not as playable as we would like. Chewbacca. Oh, man, I made a vehicle hero deck. Chewbacca was in it. He's the biggest yellow meat sack you can find. 12 for 12 is not bad. The problem is there's really better versions. You could just go Elite Mon Mothma and 2 hired guns and have even more yellow meat sackage going on. So, I don't know what to say about Chewbacca. I'm not going to say he's bad, but he's not good either. I feel like he's waiting. I don't think he's going to find his moment in the sun in this set, but maybe he will. But I don't think he's found it yet. So he's an interesting guy. He potentially has 4 damage size. That's really good. He's only 12-16. That's not that oppressively expensive. It's just the 1, 2, 2, one of the 2s you have to pay for. It's like, ooh, if that was 2, 3, 3, he'd be a god. We all know that. But I don't know. He's kind of comparable to Aura, only worse. Aura Singh, I mean. So I don't know. The jury's out on him. I tend to say probably not, but he is a big meat sack. Baze has moved up. He is like 4th from the bottom now. So 17, 16, 15, 14th. That's pretty good. I still think he's bad. I still think Poe's better. But if you want to run, and again, we're talking niche decks, that deck that's like all in on it's a trap and these kind of stuff, Baze becomes really good. He's got some good sides, but Poe kind of does the same thing anyway. He just doesn't have the +2 side. So I don't know. I still think Poe's better in every way, including more health, but some people have really gravitated toward Baze. So whatever. There's worse cards in the set than Baze, unfortunately. IG-88. I mean, he seems like he should be good. He's 2. He's 3. He can get a yellow weapon for cheaper. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone be able to do anything with him. 20 is a lot. It is a lot. And 15 for only one of these dice doesn't seem like it's enough. It's basically Luke. And so it's a lot less the Luke or the IG-88 and what character can you partner with him and what stuff do you get to partner with him. And I just feel like IG-88 is missing that Rey cheating out actions and doing crazy stuff. It's just kind of like, oh, put a fast hands on him and then resolve a die. It's just not enough for that cost. Hopefully in the future it will be. Second to worst card in the set for me is Director Krennic. Man, it is cruel to say. I wanted Krennic to be good. He's just too expensive. It's just all it comes down to. I love the design space of him, of, you know, making him ultra flexible, giving him a Death Trooper die. But I've said a lot of places, Death Troopers work best in like an aggro deck, and you can't have a 19 cost dude or a 15 cost one die that only has one damage side. And then as a mill, just play Jabba. Like, why would you play this guy over Jabba? Jabba is so much cheaper. It's ridiculous. Unkar is so much cheaper. So it's not that Krennic is bad. Krennic is fine, but it's the competition for the slots for him are just cheaper and more efficient. 15-19 is just too much for this guy. I mean, I even think 13-17 would probably be too much for him. I think Anakin's still better. I guess he's still Darth Vader, but the one that looks like Anakin. So, I don't know. Krennic is one of the cards in Spirit of Rebellion that I shake my head and go, I don't get it, design team. You got to help me out here. Like, how was this not just a colossal oversight on his cost? Maybe I'm missing something. All right. Worst card in the set, the Bowcaster. I mean, 4-cost upgrades are very challenging to play, and the special on it is terrible. 1 damage is not enough. If it was 2 damage to each, you could start to look at that and be like, ooh, that's a pretty reasonable Poe card, right? Yeah, I'm never going to play it on somebody, but it does the same thing essentially as a rocket launcher, only now I have basically 2 more rocket launchers. So, I mean, that's one reason why you could say this is so bad. It costs 1 more than the rocket launcher, and is, in my opinion, worse than the rocket launcher. So, that becomes a problem. 4 cost is just too much to me. Redeploy's great. Redeploy's great. Maybe someone will prove me wrong. And because it has redeploy, they'll have like this, the baton. The baton might be villain only as I say that. But they'll have all the redeploy weapons. Yeah, baton is villain only. They'll have all the redeploy weapons and make me look stupid, and I'll be like, dang, that is a cool deck. All redeploy weapons. But I think Bowcaster is sadly unplayable and the worst legendary in Spirit of Rebellion. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious if you think I'm completely crazy. I know people are going to be mad about Krennic. A lot of people really like him. I think he's unplayable. So let me know what you think of the video, and thank you so much for tuning in to Tiny Grams Games.